On this episode of the Business Spotlight, we're excited to welcome Stephanie Lesage, the visionary co-founder and CEO of OSPT Ltd and founding member of Phage-UK Ltd. Stephanie, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Firstly, again, thank you for taking the time to, have your busy day to share your story and your learnings from business. It'd be great if you could share with the listeners a little bit about what it is that you do and your businesses offer.
Sure, thank you very much, and my pleasure to be here. So I'm the co-founder and CEO at OSPT, as you mentioned, and what we're doing is developing a new type of material which integrates bacteriophage viruses to reduce the risk of surgical site infections, so infections mainly due to surgical implants and surgical devices. And so we're using those very specific viruses which exclusively kill bacteria.
Okay, so very niche market, very niche, sort of business that you're working on. How did you get into that? What was the sort of driver to get you into that field?
Into the antibacterial field is
Mm.
really working with my co-founder, who's a vascular access surgeon. And I was speaking to his patients at the time. They were hemodialysis patients, so they had renal failure and needed hemodialysis. And we were developing a vascular graft at the moment. And when I discussed with the patients, they all had infections of their intravenous catheters. And
Okay.
they were all saying that they wanted anything else but an infection again.
Okay.
And so I came out of these discussions thinking we're developing great vascular grafts, but we're doing nothing against infections. And that was really in the back of my mind for quite a few months until I came across bacteriophage viruses, and discovered more about them and thought this is really what we need to do. We need to use those viruses which have been here ever since bacteria were here and which are the most natural way of killing bacteria. We need to integrate them into our material to actually produce devices which will kill the bacteria before they have the chance of proliferating on the materials.
Okay. So what were you doing before? What was your background before that?
So before that, I was working for another company in Oxford developing medical devices based on silk proteins.
Okay.
And we were specifically working on vascular grafts.
And you're working for another company, and then you co-founded this new company.
That's right, yes. I co-founded it in January 2020.
2020. Well, congratulations for starting. A lot of people have ideas around growing businesses, starting businesses, but don't make the leap. So I imagine you've come across some challenges and opportunities over the last few years. If you could wind back the clock and sort of start again, would you do anything differently? Would you change the way you've gone about business so far?
I think it's worked out pretty well.
Okay.
We went through COVID, but we actually came out better than we would have been otherwise without COVID,
Okay.
which is very, very strange thing to hear, but it really helped us change the strategy and refocus the strategy because we had time to think, and we came across issues that would have been a problem in the future, but
Yeah.
we came across them much quicker, such as having to integrate all the bacteriophage work, so all of the microbiology work. We didn't expect to integrate that, but when COVID hit, we were not able to work with the company which was supposed to provide that at the time, and we realized that this could be a massive issue, in the future if anything happens. So yes, a lot of things changed in our strategy as a result of COVID.
Yeah.
So I guess,
Yeah,
yeah.
there seems to be a common theme with that. It's, something like a crisis like COVID can be a great thing for pivoting, changing, adapting, and almost forcing to work a different way. Or the other extreme is obviously a lot of businesses did suffer through COVID as well. So you clearly had a lot of learnings through that process. What would you say your biggest learnings as a business owner have been since starting?
It's always adaptability, be flexible, have a very clear plan,
Okay.
but be flexible and look at the circumstances and adapt your plan depending on the circumstances to 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 grow the business essentially. I think
Yeah.
that's really been the biggest learning. Don't take obstacles as a disaster, but take obstacles as an opportunity to grow better.
It's an interesting point because I think it was Darwin that said, isn't it? It's not the strongest of the species that survives, it's those who are most adaptable to change. So looking at those challenges and, like you say, adapting your business to become stronger as a result of it.
Yes, I think as business owners and small businesses as ours is, you always come across issues. All the way we constantly have obstacles in our way, and we need to see these obstacles in a more helpful light, I would say. So we need to see what comes out of these challenges, what positive comes out of them, and
So
make
I'm
the
seeing
most
that
of
as a bit
that.
of a mindset thing around, there are going to be challenges rather than seeing there was a negative. Actually, you had the mindset of you're almost looking forward to the challenges because of the growth that you're going to get off the back of it, or the learnings that you're going to get off the back of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, actually. I was speaking with my team lead yesterday, and we every time we had technical challenges, I always say, it's a problem, but actually it's an opportunity for IP, for
Yeah.
example. So it's true for R&D, but it's also true for the company in general and for the strategy in general. So yes, I've definitely seen that. Yeah.
Very true. You mentioned about planning as well, having sort of, solid plans in place. What sort of things, how do you plan? What sort of processes do you go through to have plans in place?
So because I have some experience of, these kind of companies and the journey to take them to market, I always plan very carefully every year, the development stages and budget until commercialization of the first product. I plan loosely the product that we can focus on to start with. Obviously, I
Okay.
always know that this is going to, potentially evolve as we develop the technology, but I really make a very firm plan with a very firm budget, firm, I should say, um, detailed, not firm. So
Yeah.
I plan very carefully and I have that over the long term. So I had, a spreadsheet for 10 years to
Okay.
start with, but I do that knowing that it will probably change, most likely change. It might change in 3 months. And if it changes in 3 months, I'll just redo it because I know that it will be better for the company. But I
Yeah.
need to have that understanding of where I'm going exactly. And I
Okay.
need to have the understanding that I will have obstacles, that I will have to change those plans, but that the goal is not changed and that I'm still going for the same goal and I will hit that goal no matter what. So it's that mindset of establish a goal, make a plan for it, be ready to change the goal, but
Yeah.
don't give up. It's going to be hard. Just keep going. And
Going
and I
back to
think
that
that
sort of
makes the
pivoting and adapting thing again, you still got your eyes firmly on the target, but you realise that it's not going to be a plain sailing journey, is it? It's not going to be straightforward. It's going to have challenges. So you say you set out the plan, you've got a clear idea of the goals, and you appreciate that that's going to change. What impact do you think that planning process has had on your success? And if you didn't do it, what difference do you think it would make to the business?
um I would say in terms of budget, for example, it's really important to have a long-term budget, and
Mm,
investors obviously want to see that. For me, I need this clear idea of where I'm going. I like to visualize, the steps of the process. So that's really important. I need to be on top of my numbers. I need to be on top of the different stages. If I don't have that in my mind, I can't move forward. So I really need that in place.
okay.
For the slightly less longer term budget, it's really important because I can add contingency, and as a result, when you raise funds, when you constantly have to raise funds, you know when you need to raise funds, but you also need to know and budget very carefully so that you can extend that timeline if you need to, if you don't raise on time. So, so that planning is important for that because the planning enables you to do your budget very precisely, and
Yeah.
as a result, that helps you keep going.
Do you think
Um,
that sort of process and that methodology would be advantageous to maybe smaller businesses that aren't going through a funding process, that don't necessarily need to sort of forecast that they're going to need to raise funds by? Do you think that still has value in their sort of businesses?
I think every business always needs to know exactly where it's going
Yeah.
and how it will get there. And so that's useful for, I would say, any type of business. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, it's a really good point because there's a lot of businesses out there that, set out at the early stages, plan, then start doing the job, and after a couple of years, the planning bit seems to sort of fall by the wayside, and they just become, creatures of habit and just sort of recycling, redoing the same thing year in year after, without planning for growth, without planning for change and things. Um,
Yes, yeah.
An interesting point you said about having the plan to, without that sort of plan and that structure, knowing your numbers, you wouldn't be able to sort of, I can't remember the exact words you used, but it's almost like think clearly or make decisions. So some of it is removing the distraction of not knowing the numbers and maybe making it a bit clearer in terms of where you're going, is it?
Yes, yes. It's really having clarity in the mind. To when you visualize in your mind the different checkpoints, I would call them. I make
Yeah,
the parallel with trailing, running trails. You have checkpoints, and you need to know where your checkpoints are, but you also need to know where your final goal is,
yeah.
to be able to achieve it.
Very good. Yeah, very good advice. Checkpoints, I like that actually because that does give you those milestones, doesn't it? And again, the plan, you can sort of go off track a little bit, and if you get back on track and get to the next checkpoint, at least you're going in the right direction.
Yes,
What about
exactly. Yeah.
what about teams? What about team? What size team have you got?
So there's five of us full time at the moment. We have four people working in the lab. They all
Nice.
have bacteriophage expertise. So it's still a small team, but we've grown quite a bit. We've gone through, one, then two, then three, then four. We're hiring one more person in the next few months.
Okay.
So growing as it needs to be. A small team is very nice. It's a really nice tight team that we have at the moment, which is very very efficient and working really well together. And that's for me the people are so important.
Yeah.
Having a team that works, having a team that supports one another. Who I can support, they can support me. That makes a huge difference. The people aspect is a massive has a massive impact on any development of a
Yeah.
company.
Well, yeah, ultimately the team will be able to take the business and the development further than you could ever do on your own. So having the right people around you is going to be fundamental for success. There's been
Yes.
there's been obviously clearly some challenges in the recruitment market over the last few years since COVID. A lot of people sort of reevaluating what's important to them and things. How have you found recruiting the right, finding the right talent and attracting the right talent?
So so far, I've been really lucky because I've found the people that we have in the team through networking. So through people
Okay.
I knew in the field who had students who were ready to start working, or I've been contacted by um, my R&D lead, for example, before I even advertised exactly for her role. And so I didn't even have to put a job offer on the market, and it's sent
There you
for
go.
her. She was really
Fate.
perfect for the job, and she's made a massive impact, positive impact on our development, and the whole team has. So we've been very
Yeah.
lucky. I think the issues I'm finding now is recruiting further people. I'm looking for microbiologists with phage expertise who do not need a visa because we cannot pay visa,
Yeah.
add into the budgets the payment of the visa and the sponsoring all the time. And I'm finding that all of the people applying actually are from Europe or from outside of
Right.
Europe and all need a visa. And I'm really struggling to find any microbiologists who have a right to write in the to sorry to work in the UK. So I'm finding that very challenging at the moment.
Well, there you go, listeners. You've heard it here. We need some microbiologists that can fill that gap. Very worthy cause. In
Exactly.
terms of the talents, the qualities that you look for in people, what sort of things do you look for the people that you want to have on board with you? What qualities are you really focusing on?
So I always go for the character really.
Okay.
Well, first of all I go through intuition. a lot, but I also go for the mindset. So the mindset and the general character. So, our team is, we're all very they're all very open, all very friendly, all very have a very positive attitude towards working. They're very happy to work in a group, and they're just very lovely people, and with a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite important, actually. I usually slip that in the interviews, trying to see how they react to jokes, and I find that really important, because if you have one person who is different to the rest of the team, it can completely destroy the team.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that everybody it will bring some lightness to the days, because in R&D in particular, there's so many things that can go wrong on a daily basis. You can come for weeks weeks on end, and have issues in the lab with contamination of bacteria or things like that. And you need to keep that light atmosphere in the lab, and to be able to keep going. And so it's really important. So that is definitely something that I look for, probably over the experience of people. It's more important.
Yeah, I can imagine it would be a very frustrating environment, like you say, with challenges all the time. To have that resilience over those challenges and keep a positive attitude towards it is going to be really important.
Yes, no,
Very
no,
good, very
a
good.
positive
So,
and light attitude, yeah.
so it sounds like you're a very busy person. You're always actively sort of thinking and growing the business. How do you balance your personal time with the demands of running a business, a growing business?
Yeah, that's not always easy. But I think I probably work in an unconventional way, in the sense that, I'm not
Okay.
working, um I would say, like an idiot all of the time. There are times where I work a lot, and I can spend 24 hours on a grant if I need to.
Yeah.
But there are times where I take, more space for my personal life. And I have 3 children, so I need to make sure that I can attend, all of their school, most of their school things, so I take holidays, and I take weekends, and if I need to work, I will work, but don't I really try and keep a balance on that. And then I keep sports as well on the side, and that's also very, very important. So keeping active, and having other challenges on the side, so physical challenges as well as entrepreneurial challenges.
Yeah, good for you.
That
It's not
helps
not
me.
quite as easy to do sometimes, is it? But especially when you've got a great cause and very passionate about the business that you're running. How old are your kids?
My daughter's 7 and my boys are 12 now, so they're twins.
Okay.
I did 2 batches.
Good ages, but handful, I imagine.
Yeah, yeah. It gets easier though.
Yeah,
They can do stuff on their own now. So
yeah, absolutely. With regards to the business over the next 5 years, where do you see it going? What sort of things are you sort of forecasting in terms of growth and where you want to take it?
So we're at quite an exciting stage at the moment, because we've had rather big grant funding recently,
Okay.
and we're taking our first external device to clinical trial readiness, and then we're developing the feasibility of our first implantable device. So it means that we're reaching that stage where we're really focusing on specific products and developing those specific products. So looking at the regulatory route, and detailing that very carefully. And so over the next 5 years, we're intending on starting the clinical trials. So that's testing our devices in patients,
Okay.
which is going to be very, very exciting. This is, it's all again, the regulatory, to obtain CE mark, FDA approval, and then, yeah, so having the demonstration that our technology is actually working in humans is very exciting for us, as a small business.
A lot of responsibility as well.
Yes, yes, of course, yeah, yeah, which
Very good.
which makes it even better.
Very exciting. That's been really interesting. It's been great to talk to you and learn a bit more about your business journey. Is there anything you'd like to share with the listeners that might be looking to grow their business or take it to the next level? Anything you want to sort of share in terms of support?
I would say surround yourself with people who you admire and who you want as models, but also if you can get mentors and get people to help you achieve your goals, because it's really easy to dig yourself in a hole and try and do everything on your
Yeah,
own, but really having external people who have gone there and who can push you and who can pull you and help you grow and keep going is super, super important. So mentors, advisors, I always add that in my budget now. I have a budget for advisors to make sure that I can actually financially pay for mentoring and advisors, and that makes a huge difference.
it's great advice. Whether you're as seasoned as someone like Jeff Bezos or just starting out, we all have similar challenges, don't we? Whether it's a touch of imposter syndrome, bit of self-sabotage, some knowledge gaps and things like that. So it's great to have that external sort of person looking in, because we can't often see inside ourselves what others can see in us as well, can we? So having that third party perspective is really valuable to keeping that sort of momentum going. Really good.
Yes, yeah, no, completely. And that goes, with the team. It's really people, people, people. The
Yeah,
team is super important. The people you have around as your network, the advisors, the mentors, that makes the whole difference, I think. So very important.
very good. Where can our listeners go to, learn a little bit more about what you're doing, where you're up to with things, and maybe sort of reach out and just follow what you're doing? Where can we send them to go and find you?
Yeah, on LinkedIn, for example, OSPT. So my name is Stephanie Lesage, so you can have a look at my profile, which links to OSPT as well. And then we have a website, www.oxfordsilkphage.com, I believe. So we used to be called Oxford Silk Phage Technologies. We've changed it to OSPT to reflect the fact that we're expanding the material and not just focusing on silk proteins.
Okay, very good. Stephanie, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. It's been great to speak to you today.
Pleasure.
Thank you.